Pokemon Go continues to be a pretty popular game, but Governor Cuomo of New York is not too happy with it because he believes it's being utilized as a tool by sexual predators. So as a result, I'm not kidding, this is real.
Ridiculous.
So as a result, he has called for a prohibition for sex offenders on parole. They are not allowed to use Pokemon Go if they live in the great state of New York. Now, go ahead.
No, I'm not trying to interrupt you.
No, go ahead.
I'm hearing the argument and I'm seeing the cover and it's so fucking stupid.
Yeah, so I think that there's just a lack of understanding regarding how the game is played.
Yeah, and how it works fundamentally.
And how it works, right?
It's confusing, I will admit that.
So yeah, we'll get to that in a second. But
Okay.
first, let's hear from Cuomo. So, according to the New York Daily News, the State Department of Corrections and Community Supervision is barring all registered sex offenders under supervision from downloading, accessing, or playing such internet gaming activities under the directive. Again, this is a directive by the governor. He says protecting New York's children is priority number one, and as technology evolves, we must ensure these advances don't become new avenues for dangerous predators to prey on new victims. These actions will provide safeguards for the players of these augmented reality games and help take one more tool away from those seeking to do harm to our children.
It's an admirable sentiment to want to protect children, and I am not against that. But I do not believe that the governor or anyone else involved in this understands at all how the game is played, because what they're actually trying to do does not actually protect the children. So this cover of the Daily News says, "Beware Pokepervs," that's a great headline. "Cute tunes pop up near homes of sex offenders, polls warn." Yes, they do pop up near the homes of sex offenders because they pop up fucking everywhere and anywhere. It's random. And by the way, stopping the pedophiles or sex offenders or whatever from playing doesn't affect them popping up near their homes, since it's not dependent on people being nearby who are playing it. They just pop up. It doesn't matter if that sex offender doesn't know a Candy Crush from a Charizard. It can still pop up near his home. So the only way to accomplish your goal is to literally have Niantic go in, have an actual updated map constantly of sex offenders, and to make it impossible for Pokemon to appear in that area. But I got news for you. It goes one step farther, because pedophiles and sex offenders can actually walk, and they can go to other places. Also, they're not necessarily always raping people. This is just the worst sort of fear-mongering. Once again, it's using a popular video game to imply that children are constantly being put at risk because of gaming, which is not the case.
That's actually a really great angle and point that I hadn't considered. Like, there's always this demonization of video games, and Pokemon just seems like the most harmless video game imaginable.
It's barely a game, and it's super harmless.
By the way, there are some real legitimate concerns regarding Pokemon because, you know, there was that column written, I forget his name, I don't have it in front of me, but he's a black columnist who talked about how it could potentially be really dangerous for black men, for instance, to just walk around a neighborhood and play the game, because it might seem suspicious for someone who doesn't immediately think, oh, they're playing a video game, right? So we did that story, and a bunch of people actually voted that video down. They were angry with us because they thought we were fear-mongering. But I actually thought it was an interesting perspective that we hadn't considered. And interestingly enough, during the conventions, we had prepared this story, but we never got to it. There were 2 teenagers that were shot by an individual who thought that they were trying to rob him or rob his home.
Of Squirtles, specifically.
And by the way, and those 2 teens were not black, but it doesn't matter if you're black or white.
Yeah.
I mean, think about it. We're living in this state of paranoia, so if you just see people like wandering around anywhere near your property and they look suspicious, well, I mean, I don't know. It definitely could cause some problems, and it has caused some problems. Now, that's a legitimate thing to kind of bring up and you know, figure out ways to mitigate that potential risk. But this I don't see as a potential risk. And it's random and out of nowhere. If there were instances of sexual predators using Pokemon Go to, you know, to be predators, to go after kids, then yeah, by all means, we need to do something to legislate it. But in this case, I don't really see any problem.
Yeah, and look, what they could do, if you were a sexual predator and you wanted to use this, you could do what the robbers did a few weeks ago, that you could set up a lure in like a remote location. But odds are what you're going to get is not a 12-year-old who walks a mile off in the woods. You're going to get me, okay? People like me, who are a large percentage of the people playing it. And so, look, and it's way easier if you want to sexually assault someone than to manipulate Pokemon Go and all of that. We live in a scary world. There's risk. You can't manage all of that. I do want to defend you on that other story, though, because, look, people, I get that gamers feel attacked a lot of the time, and they think that TYT, because most people on TYT don't game a lot, they feel like we're going to attack you. Well, look, I game a lot, so I'm going to defend her. That story was not saying that Pokemon Go is racist because black people could be put at risk. It's simply saying, as a consequence of playing it, considering our country, you could put yourself at more risk. That's not a criticism of Pokemon Go or Niantic or Nintendo. It's a criticism of our society. You can oppose that, but we weren't attacking games.